headline surviving the social media onslaught. I've been asked by a couple of people yesterday what my research interests are, and they are many. I've been working a lot with global journalism, representation of minorities in the media, but also over the last couple of years I've become more and more interested in journalistic images. That means both photojournalism, of course, but also other images that journalists use for various reasons. And one of the reasons I'm interested in this and why I want to mention this in this particular setting is that image is often the silent partner to text. However, they are everywhere. And we use them more and more. I'm going to come back to that a little bit in a little while, but it really calls for attention, I think. Yeah, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. Why do I have this picture here on the first slide? It's I don't know if anyone knows it, but there's this German artist Escher, he specialized on making images, drawings, where you think you see a couple of stairs going up, but when you look closely, they actually go down. In this one, there's an aqueduct where, if you look closely, it's impossible for water to travel the way it's drawn. And sometimes when we work in this landscape, and particularly when it comes to images and what is fake and what is truth and what is whatever, the world ends up a little bit like this. It's the obvious isn't always as obvious as it seems, etc. I also added this, a quest for enhanced visual literacy, because I think it's important. And I want to, if we have time, to come back to that. Yeah, this is just a small map of how confusing this quest for visual literacy is, and all the sorts of different images that we are surrounded by, all the different traps we can go into. And then I have put a star here, that's trust, which I think is maybe one of the most valuable things we have in journalism. We need trust. If we don't have trust, nobody will listen to what we have to say. However, it's yeah, we're in dire straits these days, so trust is scarce. But I think this star here, the trust star, is something that we need to protect. I'm going to come back to that a little bit as well. You can see its intestines. So it represents the gut feeling, and what I would call sometimes the gut feeling curse when it comes to images, because we respond to images with our guts, but not so much with our intellect. And the gut feeling curse is non-verbal. And so I guess one of the things that I really want everyone to try to do is to be more conscious about how to verbalize what we think we see when we see something. And since this is a workshop, I thought that we should work a little bit. And this is the image I thought we could work on. I'm not going to do that right away. I'm just going to give you 1 minute to look at this image and take down some notes on what you see. And I want you to actually do that, because it's very easy to think that when it comes to these things that I want to do, it's easy to grasp intellectually the points, but to actually do it, it's not what we always do. So I'll give you 60 seconds to take down some notes on what you see when you look at this image. And if you don't see it clearly, you can come up. Okay. We'll continue. I just have to say, we're going to leave this image for now, so just take care of your notes, and we'll come back to it. This is just one thing that I want to say. It's not a fake image, so it's got nothing to do with that. This has got to do with visual literacy, but I'm now going to talk about the challenges that we face today. So, but just, I don't want that to be confused. It is not fake, but we're going to talk about fakes now. Fake images is, as we all know, a challenge. Oops, this is, stop. Yeah. It's related to disinformation, misinformation, source manipulation, information war, and confusion in general. And it has become a new specialty within fact-checking. And I think this is what we are facing under the social media domination, because there's a clear difference between how media, there are things that could be discussed about how traditional media or mainstream media use images as well, but the distribution, as has been mentioned in many of the entries in this workshop, has pointed out, it's through the social media that this confusion has become really a lot greater. And what you can see now is that it's like generally when you want to figure out whether an image is fake or not, one of the first things you should do is to check out the source. And the images that I've chosen here are traditionally well-known and well-renowned media that are facing an onslaught because they are being targeted as producers of fake news, if you see what I mean. So they spend a lot of time now on trying to debunk fakes. And I don't know, how many of you work with images? Can you put up a hand if you do? Yeah. So is this how to fact-check images? Is that something that you all know? Yeah. Mm. Mm. Yeah, because I'm suggesting I have a 4-minute long short video from Deutsche Welle, who is one of the media who are doing this on a regular basis. Also, there's this English version of France 24, so 24, who every day have news or image fakes. They go through image fakes every single day. But do you want to see that, or is that something that you feel is, yeah? Mm. Is there sound? Sound, please.
Breaking news. In breaking news situations or in crisis zones, viral photos circulate quickly online. But on social media, it's common for fake photos to circulate. Either images that show something different from what it's supposedly portraying, or even photos that are manipulated. The question is, how can you know whether the photos you encounter are real or fake? In this video, I'm going to show you 4 useful tools to help you verify the images you encounter online. Let's start with this example. This photo allegedly shows a little girl named Malak who was supposedly killed by an Israeli airstrike in the Gaza Strip in 2021. We found this claim on several social networks and in numerous languages. A good way to find out if the photo really shows what it's said to show is by doing a reverse image search. My colleague, Rachel Bake, breaks down how it works.
First of all, I would upload the image to a reverse image search tool like TinEye. There I can find out when the image was used for the first time and where.
An important side note. It's worth trying out the reverse image search on other platforms as well, such as the Russian search engine Yandex or Google. Usually, different platforms offer different results. Regarding our example, Rachel found out
the picture is not from Gaza, and it's also not current. It actually shows a young girl from Russia called Sophie. And she's alive and celebrating her 6th birthday, according to photos her mother has uploaded on Instagram.
So, the reverse image search is a really useful tool. Nevertheless, it's not always helpful, as our next example shows. Sometimes the platforms don't have any matches for the photo you're looking for, or sometimes you need a second way to verify an image. Let's have a look at another example. This photo was shared several times and also used by mass media. It allegedly shows hordes of Ukrainians fleeing from the Russian invasion at the main station Kharkiv at the beginning of March 2022. But many social media users doubt the photo is real. The reverse image search shows that the picture really was posted at the beginning of March. But how can we be sure that the photo is real and current? A first possible way to verify that is to check whether the photo really shows the train station Kharkiv. For that, we can simply use a web-based mapping platform, such as Google Maps. The research shows that the photo really does show the train station Kharkiv Passagirsky. You can recognize that by comparing the yellow building or the same display boards in both pictures. Okay, so the location is correct. But how can we confirm that the photo was uploaded for the first time at the beginning of March? Let's take a closer look. Here you can see a person holding an umbrella, like this one. Many others are wearing a hood. So it seems as if it rained on the day the photo was taken. So now we have to find out whether it rained in Kharkiv at the beginning of March or not. We can verify that with a really cool tool.
Using websites like Wolfram Alpha, you can
other Ukrainian cities as well, which shows that vast tracts of residential building have been destroyed by Russian shell and rocket and missile fire. Have you seen that visual evidence for yourself?
Who has been in these places? Well, in fact, just yesterday, I had a family evacuated. They are refugees from Mariupol. And I asked them exactly the same question. I asked, well, what about that hospital where you say pregnant women have been and these people lived close by? Here's what they say. They say, in fact, it hasn't. Curious why the UN is not telling that Azov, which are military forces of Ukraine, are taking civilian objects and making their military bases. They don't talk that a lot of these civilian objects, they transform into the point where they're located so they can shoot Russian forces. Well, nobody talks about it. And I talked to many witnesses who actually have their homes being taken, not voluntarily, as you may guess, and Azov is just located there. Some hospitals never worked. Nobody says that even the children garden are used today by Azov.
Yeah, well,
so they are not attacked by the Russian forces. Well, this is not fair.
Ms. Bettina, have you seen the video evidence from Mariupol, from other Ukrainian cities as well, which shows that vast tracts of residential building have been destroyed by Russian shell and rocket and missile fire? Have you seen that visual evidence for yourself?
Who has been in these places? Well, in fact, just yesterday, I had a family evacuated. They are refugees from Mariupol. And I asked them exactly the same question. I asked, well, what about that hospital where you say pregnant women have been and these people lived close by? Here's what they say. They say, in fact, it hasn't worked for a year because they were doing some repair job. There were no patients there. And Azov just took it.
Yes.
So and Russia, 2 days prior, talking about this hospital, told to the United Nations that there are Azov forces there and they're going to bomb it because there are no civilians there. And so you take the building and you
Ms.
say
Bettina,
that...
unfortunately for you and for that story, it's simply not true, is it? Two well-respected, independent journalists from the Associated Press were in Mariupol at the time that the maternity hospital was hit. They know it was functioning. They were there directly after the hit on the building. They saw that pregnant women and babies were affected by that attack. They also spoke to a doctor who said that one woman who survived the attack and her stillborn child, of course, lost their lives as a result of that attack. That was recorded by independent journalists who were still in Mariupol. So your story of the Azov battalions taking over that particular building doesn't stand up.
No, it's not my story. It's the story of the people who live close by. And talking about independent journalists who have been there, what we have seen, I haven't been there, you haven't been there, we only have seen pictures. We don't know how these pictures were taken.
No, I'm referring to journalists who have been there. Unlike you, I don't know, forgive me for asking, but when were you...
I haven't been there at that time. How can I speculate on this?
Yes.
Okay. It's safe to say that they never agreed. I'm sorry that some of this came twice. That was not my intention, but you get the point. There is this fight, in a sense, between the BBC, who's talking about, you know, journalistic authority and the eyewitness and all of this, and Ms. Bettina, who says that, well, I wasn't there, so I don't trust anything. And I think that is quite telling about the situation we're in right now, because I don't think this would have been possible only 10 years ago. So it says something about how the authority of journalism has been reduced quite dramatically. But it also says something when we're talking about images that I think is interesting in a different manner, and that is the way journalism has perceived images and used images, and that maybe this idea that the journalistic image is basically there to document and prove, or sometimes to illustrate, is not enough. It's a quite shallow way of understanding what images do, and then we're back to this, all this, how it affects us physically and psychologically. So that is also something that I take from this discussion. I had planned not to talk too much because I want you to do something, but just very quickly, the image-text relation when it comes to the media has been in favor of text. And also within media studies, mostly what we do is to study texts. I don't know if any of you media scholars here are including images in your work, but if you don't, please do, because it is part of the total meaning-making processes within the media. But there are reasons for this. Text is linear, it's rational, it's kind of easy to grasp what the meaning of a text is, while images are polysemic, and they play on emotions, and that's much harder to grasp, you know. And so the main role in journalism that they've had is, as I said, to document, to prove things, or to illustrate. But with the visual turn, and this is you can probably not see, it's some statistics from 2015 who shows the immense accelerated the influx of images that we have in this is mainly social media, but not all. And that tells us that today, because of globalization and digitalization, images are everywhere, and there is no message we can convey that doesn't have an image or need an image to go through. Again, back to one of my first points, when our understanding of that is just gut feeling driven, it's not enough. this is, I found the Pakistani newspaper. This is just, you know, kind of an illustration photo, quite typical. So it doesn't have a big... But to do that and to enhance our visual literacy, there are many limits of understanding that there is no time to go deeply into now, even though actually most of them are interesting in themselves. Context has been mentioned. The medium is the message, as Marshall McLuhan famously said. That's also part of the story. The time of the day that you consume a media message is important. Your culture, your gender, your age, etc. All of that influences us. But if we are to stop on a more positive note, and I guess that's kind of my idealistic vision for talking about things like this, is that to understand that the image is also a critical space. It's a space for dialogue, a space for reflection, to quote David Bate, who's a photographer himself, but who is also writing academically. And I also, visual literacy is also something that one could talk about for ages, but here I just want to point out that visual literacy is not one particular skill. It's how to combine different skills that you already have. And those skills are reflecting how you look, your reflection analysis, and you can go on a culturally discovery quest through these things. And we have a little bit shorter time than I had hoped left before tea, but I would like us to go back now to this image that I showed you and just do a group assignment, or I want you to go into groups of 4, 5, something like that. Sit with your peers and look at this image again. I put up as a headline for this that it's a quote from a British art historian called Michael Baxendale, who says that an image is always the answer to a question. So the researcher's job is to figure out what the question is. And that can be a very thrilling thing. So, but I want you to make groups of 4 to 5 people, and I want you to discuss the following. What do you see? You kind of already did that with the first minute that I gave you. And then you should discuss, well, it's always interesting to see if you see what other people see. But then I want you to discuss what you think the purpose is of this image, and agree, maybe this is a little bit ambitious, on 3 to 5 points for a positive reading of the image, and then 3 to 5 points for a negative reading of the image. I think if I give you 10 minutes and then we can sum up very quickly in the last 5, that's probably all we're going to make today. But so 3 to 5 points is probably too much. But go in groups. Yes, I got the question here. Is it a subjective reading we want? I think one of the main difficulties in this task is not to jump to conclusions too quickly. You first have to describe what you see and be aware of what you see. And then you can connect this level, the denotation level, to your connotations, who are, of course, individual. And then again, you see if that sort of fits, if there's a general reading, if it's not. And also, I mean, I know how this image came about, so I can tell you all of that later. But it's always interesting to see how you read the traces, because there are always traces of the contextual situation in an image. So I want you to do that. But yes, so the answer is yes. It's your individual opinion, but it has to be grounded. So if you sit in two pairs of, 2, 3, 4, I don't know, but groups.
Please. There's a group of 4 people, Amna, Miss Arva, Hafsa, and me. What we have perceived so far that this is obviously, as per you, is a real image. It isn't fake. And what we can see that a lady was having clutches. She's disabled apparently, and wearing a crown and a sash. It shows that she has won a pageant. Apparently, so this picture apparently is very clear, but this picture is also telling a story that how success can be achieved. And success can never be achieved so easily. You have to lose your dear ones. You can be disabled in certain ways, and then you need support to make impossible to possible. This is what we have perceived so far.
That's very interesting, and that's the positive reading. The reason I forgot to say that, but I was stuck up with Michael Baxendel. But there's another theoretical approach behind this, and that's Stuart Hall, he's always pointed out that you have readings and then you have counter readings. So that's why I want you to sort of make positive, negative. Microphone. She's not finished.
What we believe, my group member would also add something to this, but I think that sometime you use your disability to get favors and to get what normal people cannot be able to do. And I think Amna would like to add on further in the negative reading.
So I believe that because apparently she looks disabled, so sometimes we, use our disabilities as well in different ways. So sometimes we broadcast them in negatively. So I believe that this could be one of the negative and encounter reading as well.
Yeah.
I will talk about the positive reading thing, because I think despite this picture tells us that despite of the disability, physical disability she has, but she need some kind of a recognition of her beauty as well. No matter that she has some kind of a disability, but at the same time she want maybe a recognition of her beauty as well. In a beauty, yeah. Beauty with brain. Yeah, beauty with a brain maybe.
Okay, other groups, I think we just have to do it like this. So anyone is free to speak, just...
Okay, so what we felt is that people can still be happy with the glass half empty. And like, you know, she has a disability, but with that also she strives her best to participate, like she wears a crown, have a sash. So we assume it apparently that she was participating in some pageant and has won some competition, and she has the smile on her face, looks so confident and so bright that even the hindrance didn't stop her from achieving what she did. And again, another perspective that, you know, we sort of identified, because I mean, we don't know if we are right or wrong, but she looks like a Filipino or Indonesian from the Asia. So basically she represents a minority also in that way, and the way she still gets the opportunity and the way she gets, you know, through it, because there are a lot of stereotypes affiliated with disabilities and issues, especially when it comes to women. So we feel that, you know, it's a success story basically.
Yeah,
So we feel it's a success story.
Yeah, she's a Cambodian mine victim.
Okay, so what did we see in this photo? We basically see a young girl who's smiling, and she seems accomplished because, of course, she is wearing a crown. So it can be anything. It can be a beauty pageant, or can be maybe any kind of a award or something that she got. And of course, she's disabled. So that was our first reading. I think the purpose of this, we found out the purpose of this image could be probably to give hope to other people and to give them encouragement. This could be a shoot, maybe for some for some cause or for some product, maybe. So we really don't know the background. But as far as the positive reading are concerned, so of course, in whatever situation you are, you have to hold your head high, and you have to smile, pose for the camera. So that is something which is a good thing. And as far as the negative reading are concerned, so what we discussed, that there are less people in this world who, who get this kind of encouragement, or maybe this kind of help to specifically people who might be disabled, to have confidence in themselves, because generally the world is cruel, and it's not really easy to carry a disability this way. So you really need people around you who can, be a good support to you.
Yeah, thank you. Is there anyone on this side who want to say something? Yes? Where? Yeah. There first, and then... No. This. Yeah. Okay.
As an answer to the first question, that what you see without judging, we see a girl, and the purpose of the image is to depict the accomplishment of the girl. And positive points, we have identified that physical disability cannot hinder the achievement. She's a satisfied, happy, and confident person. And regarding the negative persons, some of the audiences can be judgmental about it. Maybe she is arising some sympathetic sentiments in the audiences. So, and they can be sympathetic towards her. So that is what we have identified.
Then, yeah.
Actually, someone here has mentioned that she's basically representing a minority. So that can be a sympathetic point of view, that she's using that point in her, like, in a negative way.
And then, that will be the last comment, and I will say something, and then we'll have tea.
Okay, I think so. Our readings are quite similar to what the other people said. So the first thing, personally, that I saw was a girl who, that I see a girl who's disabled. So probably the negative aspect was the first thing that I observed on a personal level. We saw that the girl is holding the crutches, she's dependent, and then later, the second readings were positive, that she's wearing a beautiful dress, that she's smiling, she has a sash and a crown on her head. So probably she has won some beauty pageant, and also that she symbolizes resilience, and also that this image shows that beauty comes in all forms and shapes, and we need to be inclusivity also, I think. So inclusivity is also something that is evident from the image.
Yeah. Okay, I will reveal. Yeah, sorry.
So for positive, obviously, it's beauty, it's happiness, it's success, and she seems like a successful person. But for negative, I would say that she may use disability as her strength or to get the success in life, which most of the people do. So it may be possible that her disability led her to success, and she gained sympathies or something like that. And secondly, sometimes the appearances are deceptive. So it can be she's not actually disabled, or she's not actually the way she's looking.
Yeah.
Ethnicity also.
Thank you very much, everyone. I'm just going to reveal the story behind the image, and then we'll have tea. There was there was a beauty pageant in 2009 called Miss Landmine, Cambodia, and she won this pageant. And the project of this pageant was instigated by an artist who wanted to do exactly what you are all saying. He wanted to say that even though you've lost a leg, and in Cambodia in particular, that's it's hard because your body is supposed to be whole. So it's like when you lose a body part, it really affects you as a person. It's not only your ability to walk, it also says something about you as a person. So that was the idea, to as you all said, to raise sort of the pride and see that there's beauty in everyone, and the disability doesn't matter, and we should see people even though they're ostracized by society. But then it became a huge media debate, and that was instigated by Western feminists who said that even though this message is very good, you shouldn't use the pageant form, because the pageant form and that kind of display of women and beauty and all of that is actually degrading, and so yeah, it spun off from there. So it became a very interesting debate. I hope that I've shown that looking closely at images is important and fun. And sometimes, I must say from my own research, a little bit scary, because you're always afraid to kind of miss something. And when you're sort of showing and sharing what you see yourself, it's sometimes a little bit intimidating, because there's always someone who will see something else or something more, and yeah, you'll miss something. But please do it and work on visual literacy, and yeah, we'll win this.